What's up, guys? So this video is my first milestone thank you video for the King of the Web voting. I said that when I reached 30,000 votes, I was gonna make a Skyrim video where I talked about whatever regarding Skyrim. And so that's what I'm going to do now, because I did reach 3,000 votes, and I actually reached my next milestone, which is 5,000 votes. So now I have to do this video, the Skyrim video, as a thank you for the 3,000. Now I have to make a music video parody song for some kind of video game, like make it video game related. If you guys haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description, because stupid annotations don't work. Ugh. So this topic, it's going to be on Skyrim. And yesterday I went on Facebook and on Twitter, and I put up 4 topics for Skyrim, and I asked you guys to vote which one you wanted to see me do. I put up how to play Skyrim, vampirism and lycanthropy, the factions, or the cities of Skyrim. And the winner of these 4 was vampirism and lycanthropy. I really like the other topics as well. I thought all these topics could be really interesting, and a lot of you seem to respond pretty good to these topics. So I will be doing these topics sometime in the future, soon, not like super far in the future. But right now I'm going to do the vampirism and lycanthropy in Skyrim. So first I'm going to talk about vampirism. I really like the topic of vampirism, and not just for Skyrim. I mean, like, in general. I love vampires and I love werewolves. I don't like any movies that have been released for vampires or werewolves, because I think they're all pretty stupid. Nobody has been able to nail that idea. Like, a storyline, nobody has been able to nail that storyline. Like, a good storyline regarding the topic. I don't know why. I mean, it's not that hard. One of my original stories that I wrote was about vampires, and my second original story, chronologically, I wrote the werewolf story first, but I never really, it was like more of a short story. But I thought I had a pretty good idea. It's not that hard to write a good storyline. I mean, people just ruin it. But yeah, I really like the idea of vampirism and lycanthropy in Skyrim. When I was going to play Oblivion, one of the things that really made me want to play Oblivion was that I could become a vampire. Like, I was like, oh, hells yeah, like, I'm totally playing that game. I never got as far as to become a vampire, but I really wanted to become a vampire. And then Skyrim came along, and I was like, oh cool, you're gonna be able to become a vampire again, and you could also become a werewolf. I was reading that I believe the first time you could become a werewolf in the Elder Scrolls universe was in a downloadable content for Morrowind, or an expansion pack. What do they call it? I don't know. In Skyrim, vampirism is considered to be an illness, like a disease. In Oblivion, it was called porphyric hemophilia, and in Skyrim, it's called sanguinaire vampiris, or vampirus. The vampires from Oblivion and from Skyrim are different. The vampires from Oblivion were stronger, but they were also weaker to, like, the sun. The vampires in Skyrim are weakened by sunlight. But the vampires in Oblivion were fatally allergic to the sunlight. So that's the difference when it comes to the sunlight and walking out in the daytime. So it's a little bit easier to fast travel as a vampire in Skyrim because of that. Because you didn't really have to worry about instant death due to the sunlight damage. Also, with vampirism, vampirism goes in stages, 4 stages. Before you hit stage 1, which you're already considered a vampire, you have 3 days before you hit stage 1, before it's too late to turn back. Because when you get infected at first, the way that you get infected is the vampire will cast this spell on you. It's called vampiric drain. I got infected there's a 10% chance that you will get infected with sanguinary vampirus, whatever the hell it is, that you'll become a vampire, or you'll get the first symptoms of it. So, and I did. I was in this cave, like a vampire lair, and I got infected. And I was scared crapless because I didn't want to become a vampire. I wanted to become a werewolf. So I was just like, oh my god, what am I going to do? The way that you find out is in your active status menu. It says there, it'll say what status is, what's wrong with you. And I believe it says that you have contracted sanguinary vampirus. I believe that's what it said. But before you hit stage 1, you can cure it by just taking the cure disease potion. You could cure it. It'll go away. That's what I did. I just took that, and then I was peachy. I was fine. So I was like, woo! So that's a good thing that they give you, they give you a good amount of time to decide whether you do want to turn into a vampire, because once you turn into a vampire, it's not easy to cure yourself from vampirism. I mean, I think the easiest way is probably becoming a werewolf, because if you become a werewolf, you will cure vampirism. So initially what this disease does is it reduces your health by 25 points. If you don't cure the disease within 3 days, you do progress into full vampirism. The cool thing is that you get messages. You get messages each day that is kind of hinting that you're turning more into a vampire. And I love that idea that they made it like that, because it makes you go through the process, and it's not just like, oh, you're a vampire, and then you've got fangs and everything. Like it takes you through the process of becoming a vampire. So for example, at sunrise, a message will appear saying, you feel strangely weakened by the sunrise. At sunset, the message is, you feel a strange thirst come over you. And after the 3rd day, on the status effect, the active status effects, sanguinary vampirus will go away, and you will wake up as a vampire, the first stage. So when a human becomes a vampire, they will usually get black eyes with red irises, pale skin, fangs, and a more gaunt look, like with the more protruding cheekbones and more of a... But the appearance can be different, because some can have more of like a gold or hazel eyes instead of red ones. The Argonians and the Khajiit have slitted pupils. The Argonian skin gets more pale, and they have 4 fangs instead of 2. And the Khajiit, their fangs resemble that of the saber cat. So these huge teeth, which is freaking scary. There's 4 stages, and the way that you advance from stage to stage is to go a day without feeding. So if you don't drink somebody's blood, you will advance to the next stage the next day. So every time you do feed on a sleeping NPC, it returns you back to stage 1. And the reason why you want to keep feeding so that you could go back to stage 1 is because if you reach stage 4, you're going to look like a full-blown vampire, and people are actually going to attack you. They're going to be hostile towards you. Like, there's no hiding it. Now, there are some that don't attack you. Some occasions or some situations where not everybody attacks you at stage 4. And some of those that aren't hostile towards you are the companions in Whiterun. The companions won't get hostile towards you if you join the companions before you reached stage 4 of vampirism. Also, the Dark Brotherhood are friendly to all stages of vampirism, but they will turn hostile if you're caught feeding somewhere in front of them. The Thieves Guild is also friendly towards all stages of vampires. So there are exceptions. Not everybody will freaking try to kill you, but anybody like in towns or something like that, they will try to kill you. And also if you're caught feeding off of someone. So feeding, you always have to be in stealth mode. That's why vampires will usually make really good thieves, assassins, like your stealth type of jobs. So here are some of the advantages and disadvantages of the stages of vampirism. For all the stages, you have 100% resistance to disease. You have 100% resistance to poison. Illusion spells are 25% more powerful. It's 25% harder for NPCs to detect you while sneaking. When you're outside, this is kind of a disadvantage. When you're outside in the daylight, your health, magicka, and your stamina will not regenerate. But any effect that fortifies the regeneration of any of these will still work. So for stage 1, you have a 25% resistance to frost. You have a 25% weakness to fire. And when you're outside in the daylight, health, magicka, and stamina have an automatic minus 15 to their total. So pretty much in each stage, the percentages will go up 25%. So like I said, you start off with 25% resistance to frost. In stage 2, you have a 50% resistance to frost. In stage 3, you have a 75% resistance to frost. And then in stage 4, you have 100% resistance to frost. So it goes up 25% each stage when it comes to the resistance to frost, when it comes to the weakness to fire. So when you're stage 4, you have 100% weakness to fire. And for the minus 15 from your magicka and your stamina and your health when you're outside in daylight, it starts off as minus 15 and it increases minus 15 every time. So stage 1 minus 15, stage 2 minus 30, stage 3 minus 45, and stage 4 minus 60. In stage 3, most NPCs won't interact with you if you talk to them or for like a conversation. And in stage 4, that's when the NPCs become hostile towards you. They will attack you, try to kill you. And that includes your spouses and your followers. As a vampire, you also get special powers and special spells. One of those is Night Stalker's Footsteps, and that's the one that I told you. It makes you 25% harder to detect while sneaking. Another one is Vampire's Servant. You could reanimate a weak dead body for 60 seconds, reanimate an average dead body, and that you could reanimate dead bodies. Different powers depending on the stage that you're at. Another cool one is Embrace of Shadows. In stage 4, you could become invisible with improved night vision for 180 seconds. So like I said earlier, for feeding, I kind of found this section kind of funny, and I'll tell you why. Because you pretty much have to feed on sleeping NPCs. So you have to be careful, because if you're caught, they're going to try to kill you. And not just the person that you're feeding on, but anybody that sees you. I was reading that it could be useful to feed on the companions if you're part of the companions in Whiterun, just because a lot of them are just sleeping there at night in their bunks, and you could just go and like feed on them. I was just like, wow, okay. Another one is it was also saying followers can be fed on with total impunity. Like you could feed on your followers like easily. It's almost like you've got your own little Lunchable with you. Because you could just tell the follower, hey, why don't you take a nap? And then they'll lay down and you could feed on them. I mean, as long as nobody's watching you, there's no witnesses there, you're all good. And it says, this makes them a reliable source of easy blood for the player. Wow. There's also a few quests that are tied to vampirism. Those quests are Laid to Rest, Trouble in Skyrim, A Daedra's Best Friend, this is the one that I came in contact with already, Rising at Dawn, and Kill Hearn. Oh, and also when you get infected, before those 3 days, before you actually hit stage 1 of vampirism, you could cure the disease with the potion that I said, or you could get a blessing, and that will cure you. And then, of course, well, like I said in the beginning, you can also cure vampirism by becoming a werewolf. And while you're a werewolf, you can't become a vampire. So you can't, I mean, there is a glitch where you could pretty much where it's kind of considered that you're both. But normally, you can only be a werewolf or you could be a vampire because they both cure disease. And when you become a werewolf, you're cured from being a vampire. But if you're cured from being a werewolf, you could become a vampire again after you've been cured of being a werewolf. These are just a few notes about vampirism that could come in handy. If you use the calm spell, you are able to feed without getting caught in front of NPCs. Feeding does not break invisibility, making it much easier to feed without being detected, especially when muffled and sneaking. Becoming a vampire makes your character become flagged as undead. The power or the strength of shouts, spells, and some equipment will receive boosts. Like, for example, an enchanted ring that supplies 60% magicka regeneration will now provide 75%. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for vampirism. There is a lot more that I could talk about, but I kind of want to talk about lycanthropy too. So that's going to come next. I don't know if you guys have read the book in Skyrim that's called Immortal Blood. I filmed myself reading the whole passage. It's not that long. It's like, I think it was like 7 minutes long. It's pretty cool. I liked it. It's about vampires. And it's just like a little story, and I just thought it was really cool. So if you guys want me to put it up, I don't know if you guys are going to be bored with it or anything because it's me reading it. Let me know if you want me to put it up or not. If you do, I'll put it up before my lycanthropy one because I haven't filmed that yet. I'll probably be filming that tomorrow because it already got kind of late. But let me know if you want that, if you want to hear that little passage from a book in Skyrim called Immortal Blood. And yeah, lycanthropy and the werewolves will come tomorrow. So I will talk to you guys later.